Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be building our very own NFT marketplace. And with this marketplace, we're going to be able to buy NFTs from our NFT collection. We'll also be able to list NFTs for sale. We'll be able to do direct listing, so listing an NFT for a set price. We'll also be able to auction list our NFT, which means we can set a minimum bid, a buyout price, and a duration of how long the bid should last. We're going to go over a few things in this video. We're first going to deploy our marketplace v3 smart contract with thirdweb. We're then going to build our front end app, which is going to be the marketplace that our users interact with. You'll be able to buy, sell, and list those NFTs on our marketplace. And before we jump into it, let me show you a quick demo of what we're going to be building. So right here on my computer, you can see this is going to be the marketplace that we are going to build. The home screen isn't anything fancy right now, but you can see here we have some buy and sell tabs at the top. We have on our homepage just a call to action button that allows you and directs you to the buy page. And we have our connect wallet option here. So if we connect our MetaMask wallet here, you can now see we also get a profile here where we'll click on that first, and we can view our owned NFTs from our NFT collection. You can see here I own these two NFTs, and you can also see that they are currently listed at this price of 0.01 Matic. We can go to buy here, and it will load our list of NFTs, and we can see what is for sale. You can see that if we click on one that has a price of 0.01 Matic, it'll load a detail page of the NFT, and you can see here the image of the NFT, the description, and the traits here at the bottom. Some information about the NFT on the right hand side. Also a link to view the owner of the NFT. You can see here it is listed for 0.01 Matic. We can purchase it. We also have the ability to switch network here. So I'm going to switch to the correct network, which is Mumbai, and we can then buy the NFT for the 0.01 Matic. Now you can also place a bid, but because this isn't a bid, it's not going to allow me to place one. We can also list NFTs for sale. So I'm going to switch over to a wallet here, where we have some NFTs in here. So let's list one for sale here. I can select an NFT. I can list it direct, or I can list it for an auction and set the minimum bid and buyout price. We'll do a direct listing here. So I'll list it today. We'll just make it for a day. So you can set the start and end dates for the listing. And I'm just going to put 0.01 Matic is the listing price. We can create that listing. It'll give us a transaction. You can see that this wallet has never listed an NFT on this marketplace. So the first thing we're going to have to do is approve access to list on a marketplace, just like any other marketplace. So we'll approve that. And then we'll confirm the transaction to list it on our marketplace. And once it has been listed, it'll take us to the NFT detail page, and you can see here that it is now listed for 0.01 Matic, and someone can buy that, and of course they can't place the bid like we mentioned earlier. Now let's go back to the buy page here, and let's buy that one NFT that was listed from our other account for 0.01 Matic. So I'm going to go and purchase this NFT now. So we're going to hit buy at asking price. We'll get a transaction that appears. You can see here that we have to pay this 0.01 Matic plus the gas. So we'll confirm that transaction. And once the transaction goes through, you can see it's no longer for sale. And if we check our profile here of our owned NFTs, in just a bit, you will now see that we own that NFT that we just purchased. So that is the demo marketplace that we're going to be building. We'll first go over again creating the marketplace v3 smart contract. We'll cover a basic marketplace first and just deal with direct listings, and then later on we will add how to put listings up for auctions and how to accept auction listings as well. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So on my computer here, what I have opened up right now is just ERC 721 NFT collection that I have already created. Now if you don't have a collection that you want to test out with your marketplace, or that you're making your marketplace for, we'll link a video here in this video and down in the description below. So if you want to learn how to create your very own NFT collection, you can follow those videos. We'll also drop some guides there as well. I'm going to be using this one here. I'm not going to recreate one just because we don't want to take up too much time, but just know that if you don't have one already, you can make one, and this is the collection that I will be using for this demo. Now we need to create create our smart contract first. Let me make sure I'm on our correct wallet here first. And we're going to connect our wallet here to thirdweb. And here on thirdweb, on our homepage, we're going to browse contracts. And I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And all the way at the bottom, you'll see under here, there is the Marketplace V3. We click on that. And if you want to read a little bit more about Marketplace V3, we have a little README section here. You can see that you can sell your NFTs on a marketplace, create auctions where the highest bid after a certain period of time wins the NFT. You can also have some resources here if you would like to learn a little bit more. You can click on the design and docs and API reference, and you can read in detail all the available features of Marketplace V3. I'm going to head up to the top right here and click on Deploy Now. And we're going to name this marketplace. I'm just going to name it Cool Market. We're going to make the symbol cool, and you can add a description and a market image if you choose to do so as well. Down here in advanced configurations, you can see platform fees. This is where you can set fees for your marketplace. So every sale that happens on your marketplace, you as the marketplace owner can collect a fee, just like other marketplaces will collect a percentage of transactions that happen on their marketplace. You can set that transaction here as well. And then at the very bottom, you're going to select the network or chain that you want to deploy your contract to. Now you can select from this drop down here. You can search the chain that you're looking for. We have toggles for mainnet and testnet. Now, because the contract that I had deployed and that I'm using is on the Mumbai testnet, that is the same network that I'm going to deploy this smart contract for our marketplace onto. So again, depending on the network and chain that you are using, you'll select that here. We'll click on deploy. Once the transaction pops up, we will confirm that. And then we'll sign the second signature here to add it to our dashboard. And once it has been successfully deployed, it'll bring us to our contract dashboard. You can see here under our cool market, there is our contract address. I'm going to copy that and save this on the side here because we will need it for our app. Just know that under here, you can always copy your contract address of the contract that you deployed. And on our overview page here, we'll just take a quick look at it. We can see that we have a detail of what our total listings are, which we don't have any right now because we haven't listed anything on our marketplace. We can see the latest events. We can see who has permission to our marketplace. And what we're going to do now is actually create a direct listing here. So under the left-hand navigation, under extensions, we're going to head on over to direct listings. Now we're not going to have any direct listings, but we're going to create our first one right over here. And we're going to select one of the NFTs from that collection that we have. And I'm going to come down to the bottom and list it for 0.01 Matic. Now I'm going to create this direct listing here, and we're doing this through the contract dashboard. And the same thing like in our demo earlier, you're going to have to approve this new marketplace to list your NFT. So we're going to hit confirm and approve. Then a second transaction will appear for us to accept to list this NFT. So once that transaction comes up, we'll hit confirm as well. And once that is done, you can see here we have our first NFT listed. It is listed for 0.01 Matic, and the listing is active. Now, we did this direct listing here on our contract just so when we're creating our marketplace app, we already have a listing that we can make sure that all the data and everything is being pulled correctly. Now, we are going to create a way for users to do their own listings in our marketplace. But for right now, just so that we have some listing to test when we build our marketplace, we did it directly here in the dashboard. And that does it for the marketplace smart contract. So with this, we can now build a marketplace app that interacts with this smart contract and allows people to buy and sell their NFTs. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to open up my terminal here and enlarge this screen. And we're going to start off by running npx thirdweb create, and we're going to specify that we're going to create an app, and we can give our project a name. So we'll just call this Coolmart. And you're going to select the blockchain because we are doing this demo on the Mumbai testnet. We are selecting EVM. You can select your framework. I will be using Next.js and our language, and we're going to be using TypeScript for this. And it will now install everything, and we'll be right back once this is done. And once that finishes, I'm just going to switch into our CoolMart project folder here. And for this demo, I will be using Chakra UI, which is a UI library. And this is just to make sure that our marketplace demo looks nice and clean as we build it. And it allows us to use some quick styling to make sure that we can style our marketplace nicely. Of course, you can use any other UI library of your choice, or you can create your own styles for your app. Just wanted to note that I will be using Chakra UI for this, and I'm going to install that first before we continue on to our code editor. And once that is finished installing, I'm going to open this up in my code editor here. We'll just enlarge the screen here. All right, and in our code editor, under the pages folder, we're going to head into the underscore app.tsx file here, and this active chain here, I'm going to switch to the chain that I deployed the contract to, which was the Mumbai testnet. I'm also going to import the Chakra provider here, which is going to allow me to use Chakra. And I'm just going to set this up and wrap it around my component here, which will allow us to use Chakra in this demo. Next thing in our Explorer here, I'm going to create a new folder that is going to hold our variables. So our contract address for our marketplace and our NFT collection, because we are going to have to use it quite a bit within our app. So I'm going to create a variable folder here named const, and I'm going to create a new file in there called addresses.ts. And in that address.ts, again, I'm going to store our marketplace address as a variable and our NFT collection address as a variable. So I'm going to copy in the NFT address here and then our marketplace address. And again, you can grab these addresses from the dashboard of the contract on thirdweb. I'm going to save that there. So we now have our two contract addresses that we can use. Now in our index.tsx file, I'm going to remove this templated code that we get when we create our app. And I'm going to create a container here. And I'm just going to put a really quick heading in here that says marketplace. And we can get rid of a few things that we are not going to be using in our index. Now what I will do is open up terminal here and run yarn dev. That way we can take a look at what we have so far. All right, and it looks like our marketplace is loaded, and yes, we have our heading that we put in that just says marketplace right over there. So everything looks good. And then the next thing we're going to create, if we come back to our demo one that we have here, we're going to create our navigation bar here. So our navigation bar is going to have a kind of home link that has the marketplace name. We're going to create some buy and sell tabs, and we'll add our connect wallet button. And once someone has connected their wallet, we'll display a profile icon right here on the side for them to view their profile. So back in the code editor here, I'm going to create a new folder called components, and this is going to hold our components that we create. And I'm going to create a new component and call it Navbar. Just drop down this terminal, get rid of it for a second. And in our Navbar, I'm going to import a few things, some Chakra UI components here. We are going to use the connect wallet component, UI component from thirdweb, and we're going to use a React hook called use address. And we're going to use next link to link some of our links from our navigation. So let's create our Navbar here, Navbar, and it will return our Navbar. And for our Navbar, we're going to create a box here. We're going to create the box, and we're going to set a max width to 1200 pixels, some auto margin to center it, and some padding on the top and bottom and left and right. We're then going to add a flex container here, which is going to allow us to align our items. So our title, our links, and our connect wallet button. We'll start off by creating a link in the top left with the name of our marketplace. That is going to link them to the homepage. We'll then create another flex here. This is going to contain our links for the buy and sell. So we'll create a buy link that's going to navigate them to our buy page, and the sell link that will navigate them to our sell page. and just some styling of margins on the left and right here to space them out. We're going to create another flex. This is going to be for the connect wallet button and the profile icon. So it's really simple to add a connect wallet feature to your app with thirdweb. All you need to do is add the connect wallet UI component, and you'll get a connect wallet button that allows a user to connect with the wallet of their choice, and it will connect their wallet and will be able to get their address from whatever wallet they have connected to our app. A really useful and helpful tool, very simple to implement with thirdweb. You just need to use the connect wallet UI component. Now, once someone is connected, we don't want to, again, if I come back to our app here, we don't want to show this profile icon unless they have a wallet connected, because if they don't have a wallet connected, we don't know what profile to bring them to. So we're going to be able to check if a wallet is connected by checking to see if there is an address of a connected wallet. And if there is an address, we'll then display that link to the avatar. And that link will bring them to their profile page based on the address that they have connected. Now, how do we get that address? That is where we will create our address variable here, and we will use the use address React hook here from thirdweb. And this is just going to grab the wallet address of any wallet connected to our app. And then we'll just change the name of our marketplace to Coolmart, because that's what we named our smart contract. And once we have our navigation bar built, I'm going to head on over back to the _app tsx file, and I'm going to drop it right within our Chakra provider here, but above the components. That way it just appears on top of all of our pages. Now, if I come back to our marketplace here, you can see we have Coolmart, we have our buy and sell tabs, we have our connect wallet button. If I disconnect, the avatar profile disappears, and if I connect it, we have it again, and then we have our index.tsx file, which is this marketplace right over here. Now let's add a little bit to our homepage here. We'll center our text and just add a call to action buy button that will bring them to our buy page. So heading back to our code editor here under our index.tsx file, I'm going to replace our container, set a container with a max width of 1200 pixels. Then we're going to add a flex with a height of 80% of our viewing window, and we're going to align and justify our content in the center so it appears in the center of our home screen. Then we're just going to use a stack component from Chakra UI to stack a nice title here of our marketplace name and a button that says shop NFTs. And this button is going to again use our next link and just link and direct our button to the buy page. And I will import all of these here and make sure we have our next link imported as well. Now, if we come back to our marketplace, we can see here we have our marketplace with our button to shop NFTs. Then the next step is we have to set up our buy page. Now, if we take a look at our demo one here, if we go to our buy page, it kind of shows this loading grid as it gets our NFT data. Once it gets it, it's going to display our NFTs or the images, the names, and then it will also display the price if it is listed or if it is not listed. And that's what we're going to build next. And the first thing we need to do is build out these NFT cards, or these NFTs that are going to be displayed, and make sure that they display the right information. So right here back in my code editor, I'm going to, in the pages, we're going to create the buy and sell pages first, just so we have them. So I'm going to buy.tsx, and I will also create a new file called sell.tsx. And then once we have those two files created, again, we need to make that NFT card. So under components here, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this one nfts.tsx, and we're going to import a few things here. Our contract addresses from our variables folder, some things we're going to use from our thirdweb, and some UI components we're going to use from Chakra here. Now, for our NFT component here, we're going to create a prop of NFT, which is going to get our NFT type that we have imported here from the thirdweb SDK. And within our NFT component, we're first going to need to get the information that we need to display. So we're going to need to get the marketplace contract first, and we're going to need that in order to check if a marketplace has or an NFT in our marketplace is listed, so we know what price to show. So we're going to use the use contract React hook here from thirdweb. We're going to pass our marketplace address and specify that it is a marketplace v3 smart contract. That will give us back our contract data here. We'll just name that marketplace. We can also check if the data has been loaded by storing the is loading here into loading marketplace. From there, with the marketplace contract, we can then check if there is a valid direct listing or what our valid direct listings are. Again, we will use the use valid direct listings hook. We'll pass in our marketplace. We're then going to check if a token within that NFT collection that we created and check that token ID to see if it matches a listing here to know if our NFT is listed for sale or if it is not. So for the NFT card that we return, we're going to create a flex here just to align our information of our NFT in a nice column. We'll start off at the top. We'll create a box here that's going to use a UI component from thirdweb called thirdweb NFT media. And what this will do is render out an image. And what it takes is the metadata from our NFT, and it'll take that IPFS of our metadata and render out the image in our app. And then we'll set the height and width to 100%. And then right below that, we will drop in the token ID number. We can get that ID number again from the metadata from the NFT, and we'll drop the name right below that and we can get that from the metadata under the name property. And then below that information, we're going to display the price of the NFT. So we need to check if the NFT is listed for sale. If it is, we'll show the price. And if it isn't listed for sale, then we'll show that it isn't listed, and we'll show no price for that NFT. So below that, we're just going to create a box to hold all this information. Again, we're going to check first if the marketplace has finished loading or that we have loaded the information from our direct listing. If we haven't loaded that information yet, we're just going to show a loading skeleton. So it'll just show a loading state until we get that information. So once our direct listings has loaded, we'll get back to see if the NFT is listed or not, and if it is, we will display the price. So we'll create a box and a flex here, and then we'll just create a title that says price, and within that direct listing we can get the currency value per token and we can display the value. So with the currency value per token, you can see here that the display value will be a string, so it'll just display what the value is. But if we do need the actual value of the token as a big number, we can just get the value instead. But because we're only showing the price, we're just going to use the display value. And then there's also under currency value per token, the symbol of the currency that it is listed in. So in this case, it is Matic, but if it is listed in any other currency, that symbol, it will pull that currency symbol that NFT is listed in. And then finally, if it is not listed, again, we'll just create the same box and flex, and we'll just put the price, but set the price to not listed instead. And again, that is creating just one of these NFT cards here based on the NFT data that we passed to it. The next thing we're going to do is create our component to create a grid of NFTs. That way we can generate each one of these cards for each one of the NFTs within our collection. So back in my components here, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to name this one NFT grid.tsx. And we're going to create the grid for our NFTs. I'm going to, again, import a few things that we'll be using. We'll be using the NFT type from the thirdweb SDK, some UI components from React. We're going to import our NFT component that we just created, link here, because we are going to have to link our NFTs cards that load to their detail pages. And again, we're going to get our collection address right over here. Now for our NFT grid, we're going to create some props here, and we're going to need some information to load into our grid. So we're going to check if our data is still loading. Then we're going to get the data, and the data is just going to be an array of NFT type, which is our NFT type that we imported from thirdweb up here. We're also going to have an override on click behavior, because depending where this grid is used within our app, we may need to override the click function for it to display or navigate us to something else. And then we have our empty text here, just in case there are no NFTs that will be loaded into this grid. We will display some sort of text as a string right over here. And then for our app here, what we're going to return is we're going to use a simple grid here from Chalker UI, which allows us to specify that we want our grid to have 4 columns, a spacing of 6, and then we can set some width and padding to our grid. And within our grid, we're going to check to see first if our data is still loading. And if it is still loading, we're going to just create a grid of 20 components here. And then for each one, we're going to display a skeleton, so a loading skeleton. So it looks like it's trying to load our grid here. And that's just for some visual and UI appearances for our marketplace. But what we will check if it is not loading then is if the data and the data length is greater than 0. So this is just checking to see if there are any NFTs that need to be loaded into our grid. And if there are NFTs that need to be loaded into our grid, we're going to map through all of those NFTs from our data. Each one we're going to create an individual NFT for. Now, depending on if there is an override click behavior, if there is no override click behavior, we're just going to show a default of the NFT. So we're going to first create a link, and that link, if someone clicks on it, will take them to the detail page of the NFT, and then we'll set our key for our mapping here. And within that link, we will just use our NFT component and pass it the NFT data that we get from mapping through our array of NFTs. Now, if there is an override link, we will create a div here that is going to allow us to override the on-click behavior with the on-click behavior that we pass. And again, we'll set the key to the metadata right over there, and we'll pass the NFT with the NFT data right here. So this block here is created if there is an override on-click behavior that we want to add to that grid. And then finally, if there is no data within our NFT array, we're just going to pass the empty text that we give our grid when we create it. So this will just display something like there are no NFTs, or you don't own NFTs. Whatever string we provide into the empty text will display there. So we now have our NFT cards created, and we have the ability to display those cards in an NFT grid. We can now display that in our buy page. So I'm going to head back to the buy page here and import a few things again, some UI components, our NFT grid, and then our contract address for our NFT collection. And we are going to be getting that data from our contract address, passing it through to our grid, and making it display a grid of NFTs. Now, again, we need to get that information from our NFTs. I'm going to create a variable here and use the use contract hook, again from thirdweb, to get our contract data from our NFT collection and store that into our contract variable. Then we're going to use a new React hook here called use NFTs. What that is going to do is get the NFT data from the NFTs within our contract. So we're going to pass the contract that we just got from above, and that is going to give us the NFT data. And we can also check the is loading state of that data to make sure that we have all the data right here. And then in our buy page, we are going to create a container, again with a max width of 1200 pixels and some padding here. We're going to give it a heading here of buy NFTs. This is our buy page, and then we'll add a subheading of browse and buy NFTs for this collection. And right below that, we're going to create our NFT grid for is loading to check if we have the data or not. We're going to pass the is loading that we get from the use NFTs. We'll then pass the data from our data that we got from use NFTs, and the empty text, we'll just put no NFTs found if it doesn't pull up any NFTs. And if we save that, come back to our app here. Again, we are in our Cool Mart. We can click on Shop NFTs. It'll bring us to our buy page. You can see the loading skeletons here while it retrieves the data of our NFTs. And once it loads our NFTs, we have our NFTs right over here. We can see that they are not listed, although we do have that one that we listed previously from our contract dashboard. And you can see here that it is showing the price of 0.01 automatic. So again, that's why we wanted to list one. We just wanted to make sure that it would display the price if there was a direct listing. So everything here seems to be working. We have the name, image, and price of the NFTs. Next thing we're going to create is the detail page for these NFTs. So right now, if I click on one, it's not going to bring me anywhere because we didn't set up a detail page for these NFT tokens. And that's what we'll do right now. Coming back to our code editor here, under pages, I'm going to create a new folder named that token. Under token, I'm going to create another folder, and within brackets, I'm going to name this one contract address. And then within that contract address folder, we're going to create a file within brackets again. I'm going to put token id.tsx. And this is going to just display the token ID details. So the details of the NFT based on its token ID and the contract address. So what we're going to do here is again import a few things we're going to be using from thirdweb, from Chakra UI, and then we're also going to get our NFT type and our thirdweb SDK from thirdweb SDK. We'll be using use state from React. We'll get our contract addresses from our variables folder, and we'll also be using get static paths and get static props to set our props for this token page, and we'll be using again links here. So for this token detailed page for props, we need the NFT and we need the contract metadata. That way we can display the information of the NFTs, and we can also display some information from our contract metadata like the name, and maybe even share the image of our contract. Now to get those props, we are going to have to use our get static props here and get static paths. And within those, so for our get static props, we will be getting the token ID. We'll set up our thirdweb SDK here to get our contract metadata. Again, make sure your network name is set properly to the right network that you used. We'll get our contract again by getting our contract and passing our contract address. And then we'll get the NFT data in our contract by getting that information by passing the token ID. And then the contract metadata we'll get by using on our contract metadata.get, which will retrieve the contract's metadata. And then we will set the props of our component to that NFT and contract metadata that we got. And then again, down here in get static paths, we'll set up our SDK, get our contract information, NFTs, and then we'll set our path for our contract address and token ID based on the contract address and then the token ID of the NFT that we have. And then coming back up here into our token page, we're first going to get our marketplace contract again using the use contract and passing our marketplace address here. We're going to store that into a marketplace variable. Then we'll also get our NFT collection using the use contract on our NFT collection address, and we'll store that under NFT collection. And then finally here, again, we're going to check if the NFT is listed for sale. So we'll use the use valid direct listings here with our marketplace contract, and then we'll be checking the NFT collection, and we'll be checking to see if that token ID that we have selected. Now, if we take a look at our previous demo page here, when we click on an NFT, the detail page when it opens up is this page right over here. So we will be displaying our NFT image, getting the description, and displaying the traits or attributes of our NFT. And then on the right hand side here, we'll be displaying the image of the contract address, the name of the contract that it's from, the name of the NFT, the owner, and then the price and a button to purchase the NFT. So within our token page here, I'm going to create a container with a max width of 1200 pixels, add some padding and margin to our container here. We're going to create a simple grid with 2 columns. Again, we're adding the left hand side and the right hand side of our detail page. So we'll start with the left hand side first. We're going to stack all of this information using a stack UI from Chakra and space everything out 20 pixels here. First thing we're going to do is the image. So I'm going to create a box here, and within that box, we're going to have a loading skeleton here, and it's going to make sure that we have our marketplace and everything loaded prior to displaying this information. So once that has loaded, so once our marketplace has loaded, we're going to display our NFT image. So using the thirdweb NFT media again, we're going to, for the metadata, pass the NFT's metadata so that it can render our image from that IPFS, and we're going to set the width and height to 100%. Below that, we're going to add a description. So I'm going to add another box here, and we're in there going to add a text title of description. And below that, we will grab the NFT description from the metadata here. So nft.metadata.description will display the description of that NFT. Below that, we're going to create another box, title that one traits, and this is where we're going to display the traits and attributes of the NFT. So the traits, we're going to make it a simple grid, and we're going to have 2 columns of traits. So I'm going to create a simple grid here with columns of 2 and spacing of 4. And we're going to map through the metadata, the attributes metadata. Now the attributes metadata is an object, so we do need to do object.entries and then pass in the nft.metadata.attributes. We're going to map through each one. We're going to get a key and a value for each of those objects within our attributes, and for each one we're going to create a little flex here to stack them on top of each other, set the direction to column and align everything to center. And on the top we will have a text that displays the value.trait type. So this is the trait type of that trait, and then below that we will display the value of that trait. So if we save that here, okay, and let's take a look back at our demo app here. So in our demo marketplace, if I select one of our NFTs, we can see here we have our NFT image being displayed, the description of our NFT, and in our traits, we have a list of our traits here, or our attributes. Now, next thing we're going to do is create that right-hand side of listing the price, some contract detail, the owner, and all of that. Okay, and for the right hand side of that detail page for our token, we're going to again create another stack. This is going to again be the right hand side of that detail page. We're first going to check to see if our contract metadata has loaded, and if it has loaded, we're going to display that contract metadata, and we're just going to create a flex here. And the first thing we're going to display, I'm going to create a box here, is the image of our contract or NFT collection. So if the NFT collection has an image for the metadata, we're going to use a media renderer UI component here from thirdweb and pass it the contract metadata.image. We'll set the height and width to 32 pixels here, and then next to that, still within the flex, we are going to then display the name of the NFT collection by using the contract metadata and getting the name property from it. Below that, we will display the name of the NFT. So we'll get that, display it in some text here, getting it from the NFT metadata name. And then below that, we are going to add a link here to the owner of the NFT. So I'm going to set up a link here that's going to take us to a profile page with the NFT.owner. So that's the wallet address of the owner there. And we're going to create a flex here, and within that flex we're going to set the direction to row. So on the left hand side we will have just a little avatar icon, just a placeholder, and then next to that we will take the NFT owner's address. We'll just take the first 6 digits of the address, and then we'll connect that with the last 4 digits. That way we're not just displaying the whole wallet address. Then below that we are going to create another stack here, and this is where we're going to show the price of the NFT. So we'll add some text here saying price. Now we want to display the price if the NFT is listed for sale, and then we want to show not listed if the NFT is not for sale. So first we're going to just create a skeleton here to check if the marketplace has loaded and that we have loaded the direct listing data. And once those things are done, we will then display that information. Now, if the NFT does have a direct listing and it is listed for sale, we're going to show the price of the listing. So again, from that direct listing, we're going to get the currency value per token, and that's getting the listing price. And we're going to display use the display value, not the regular value, so we can get the string value of the price. And then we're going to, of course, show the symbol so people know what currency they are buying or purchasing that NFT in. And if it is not listed, we'll just show some text here saying not for sale. So if we come back to our page here, you can see we have the image of our contract that was deployed, our NFT collection. We have the title of our NFT collection here. We have the name of our NFT. We have a link to the profile of the owner of the NFT. And this specific NFT right here is not listed for sale. So you can see here it is not for sale. But we still also want to add a button for an NFT that is for sale. So if we go back to our buy here, let's click on that NFT that we had listed earlier. I think it was this guy here. Let's open that one up. So you can see there's a listing price here, but we want to create that buy button that a user can click on in order to purchase this NFT. So again, we're going to make sure that we're going to create a skeleton here, make sure that our marketplace and our listings have loaded. And if it has, we will display our Web3 button UI component. Now, this Web3 button here is a thirdweb UI component that allows us to create a button that interacts with smart contracts. It requires a minimum of two things. So we do need a contract address that it is going to be interacting with. So in this place, it is going to be interacting with our marketplace address here, and it needs an action. So it needs to know what interaction is this button going to have with this smart contract. And in this case, it is just going to be a buy listing function. There are a few other things that you can check here on the button. So you can things like on success, on submit, on error. We're going to add a is disabled. We don't want the button to be clickable if the NFT that it's on is for sale. So we're making sure that it is disabled if the NFT is not listed for sale, and then the button will just say buy at asking price. And if we save that right here, come back, and we now have our buy at asking price button right down here. Now, last thing we need to do here is create our buy listing function. So we'll come back up here, and we'll create a async function here called buy listing. We're going to create a variable here for our transaction result. Now here we'll just check to make sure that this is actually a listing. So we'll check if this NFT does have a direct listing, and if it does, we'll then on our marketplace contract under the direct listings use the buy from listings function here, and we are going to pass the direct listings ID so we know what listing we're purchasing, and we also need a quantity that is being purchased. And in this case, because this is a collection of ERC 721 tokens, we're going to pass 1 by default here, and we'll save that result in our transaction result. If there is no listing, it'll just throw an error saying no listing found, and then we'll return that transaction result. So we can come back to our Coolmart marketplace here. I'm going to switch wallets to a wallet here that does not own this NFT. So we're in a different wallet here, and we're going to test our buy button. So again, we're going to purchase for 0.01 Matic. We'll click that buy button here. Should give us a transaction to confirm. You can see here we are paying 0.01 Matic. Let's confirm that transaction. And you can see here it is no longer for sale, and the NFT has been purchased. We can come back to our buy page here, and it is no longer listed for sale. Now, the next thing we want to do is allow users to list NFTs for sale within our marketplace app. So we're going to come on over to our sell page here, and we're going to create this page next. Again, I'm going to import a few things here from Chakra UI, from thirdweb. We'll be using the useState from React, and then we will also need our NFT collection address, and we'll be importing the NFT type as NFT type here from thirdweb SDK, and we will be getting our NFT grid, and we'll be also creating a new component that we need in here called sell info, but we'll create that in just a bit. So in our sell page here, we're going to set up a few variables. The first thing we're going to again get our contract of our NFT collection using the use contract hook, store that in the contract variable. We're also going to get the address. So again, we're using that use address hook again. That's going to get the wallet address of the wallet connected to our app. And the next thing we're going to do is in our sell page, we don't want our user to be able to sell NFTs that they do not own. So we're only going to display NFTs from the collection that the wallet owns. actions. So we're going to use a new React hook here called used own NFTs, and this will give us the NFT data of only the NFTs owned by a certain wallet address. So again, we're checking the contract, and within that contract, we only want the NFT data that is associated to the wallet address connected to our app, and we'll store that in data, and then we'll just check if the data is still loading here. And then we are going to create a state variable here called selected NFT. And what this will allow us to do is toggle a sell screen if someone has selected an NFT or not. And for an example here, let's check out our other demo. So if we come back to the sell page, what we will be creating is this sell page right here. It is only going to show the NFTs owned by the wallet. It's not going to show a list of all the NFTs. And then when the NFT is selected, it will show this little sell card here that will allow us to list an NFT for direct sell. And then we can choose the start, end date, and the price that they want to list it for, or they can close that out and select another NFT. So for our sell page, we are going to create a container, again with a max width of 1200 pixels. We're going to add a heading and subheading here, sell NFTs, and select which NFT to sell below. And then we're going to create our grid, but we also want to check and display our grid only if we don't have a selected NFT. If we have a selected NFT, we're going to show that NFT card. But if no NFT is selected, we're going to create our NFT grid here. The data we're going to pass is the data of only the owned NFTs. So again, we only wanted to display the NFTs that are owned by the connected wallet. We'll pass is loading from our used owned NFTs here. And then we are going to override the click behavior. And in this case, what we will be overriding is if the NFT is clicked on, it is going to switch our state to the selected NFT, and then we will display the NFT card. Now for the empty text, we'll write you don't own any NFTs from this collection. If the connected wallet does not own any NFTs, we'll just display this text right over here. So again, if a NFT is selected, then we are going to create that little NFT card that allows the user to list their NFT. We're going to create a little flex here to center everything in our app. We're going to create a card with Chakra UI, set the width to 75%. And within that, we're going to again use the simple grid here, splitting that card into left and right. So I'm going to set the columns to 2, add some spacing and padding. On the left hand side, we're just going to display the image of the NFT. So we're going to use the thirdweb NFT media again, and the metadata that we're going to show is the selected NFTs metadata. And then we'll set the width and height to 100%. On the right hand side, we're going to now use a stack, and then within that stack we're going to display the options for someone to list their NFT. What we're going to do here first is create a little flex here, and then a close button, which will just be X, the button with an X. And when that close button is clicked, it just sets the selected NFT to undefined and brings us back to our grid that we have up here. And then below that, we are going to display the name of the NFT. So we'll get that from the selected NFTs metadata and use the name property. And below that, we are going to create a component called sell info. And sell info, if I come back here to our NFT, sell info will be this form that we create right here that takes the date and price, and we'll add a Web3 button that allows us to list our NFT. So we'll do that right now. Under our components, we'll create a new file called sellinfo.tsx. And in that sell info, again, we're going to import a few things. Our NFT type from thirdweb. We're going to be using a router here. We'll also be using a form from React hook form, and we'll be using our Web3 button, our contract addresses from our variable folder, and some Chakra UI components. We're then going to create our prop type. So our NFT is going to be an NFT type that we imported from thirdweb SDK. We're also going to create a direct form data, and this is going to be the data that we need to submit to create a direct listing. So we need to know what NFT contract address is being listed, the token ID from that address, price it's being listed at, and then the start and end dates for that listing. And then for that sell info form section, we are going to create a variable for our router here, and use router. We're going to get our marketplace contract by using the use contract hook again with our marketplace and storing that under marketplace variable here. We're going to do the same thing for our NFT collection and store it under NFT collection. And then we're going to use the use create direct listing that takes our marketplace contract, and we'll be taking that function there and storing it under create direct listing. And then the next thing we need to do is create our function to first check approval that the wallet allows the marketplace to list and sell the NFT. So we're going to create a async function here called check and provide approval. Within this function, we're going to create a variable called has approval, and we're going to use call here on our NFT collection. And what call allows us to do is call on any function from our smart contract, in this case the NFT collection, and the function that we want to call is approved for all. And is approved for all is going to check if our wallet address is approved for the marketplace contract so that the marketplace can list our NFT. So we'll take the NFT owner, which is the wallet address that we're checking the approval of, on the marketplace address. So this is the function name, and right here these are the arguments for that function. And we'll store that in has approval. Now, if the wallet address does not have approval, we will set that approval by then calling the set approval for all function from our NFT collection, and we will set the approval for the marketplace contract to true. And if there is approval and the wallet is approved, then we'll just return true. And then for our app here, we are going to create our form. Now we are going to be using a React hook form here. So I'm going to open up my terminal here, and I am going to install that really quick. So using npm install React hook form, we'll install that so we can create our listing form. And then for our listing form, we are going to create our register direct form here using use form, and our default values, we're going to set the contract address to the NFT contract address, our token ID to the NFT's ID that we have selected. By default, it will be 0, and the start and end date will be new date, and we won't have any pre-selected dates right there. We're going to create a function that is called handle submission direct, which takes the data from our direct data form, which was this direct data form that we created right above. We're first going to check approval. So we're going to check to make sure that the wallet can list this NFT. We'll then call the create direct listing from our marketplace contract that we created right over here, this function that we got. And we are going to pass our contract address, our token ID, our price, our start time, our end time, but this time with the updated values from our form. And then we'll create our form here. So we're going to create a stack here to stack everything nicely. We'll space everything with a spacing of 8. The first thing we're going to do is add a title of our form, which will be direct listing. Then we will add a title and input field listing starts on. So this will be an input field with the type of date time local. So they'll be able to select a date. And we're then going to assign this date to the start date value for our register direct. We'll do the same thing for the end date, except setting it to the end date. And then below that, we'll create another section here, this time for the price. The input here is going to be a number, and we'll set that to the price for our form. So if I save that and we save our sell page here, we can come back to our demo here. We'll come to our sell page. And if we select one of our NFTs, we now see that we have our image. This NFT card comes up with the name. We have direct listing. We can select a start date and an end date for our listing, and we can set a price. And now we just need to set the button that will then create the listing for us. So right here, we will add a Web3 button, and that Web3 button, again, needs a contract address and action. We will be calling the this function on our marketplace, and that action is going to submit our form, our information, our data from that form, and then call the right here, handle submission direct, which will then check approval and create the direct listing. And then we're going to use the on success here. And once the transaction here is successful, we'll then reroute the user to the detail page of the NFT, and then they can see that the NFT is listed for sale. So we'll come back to our app here. Under sell NFT, we'll select one of our NFTs. We'll select the start date as today, end date as tomorrow, and we'll list it for 0.01. We'll create that direct listing. First thing it should give us, because we're using a new wallet that we haven't listed anything on this marketplace yet, is again that approval to approve this marketplace to sell this NFT. So we'll hit confirm and approve, and then we'll confirm the transaction to list our NFT. And then you can see here, it routes us to the NFT's detail page, and we have our NFT listing here for 0.01 Matic, and someone can go ahead and now purchase our NFT that is for sale. We come to the buy page here. That was the first NFT here, and you can see that it is listed for 0.01 Matic. And now we have created a very simple marketplace where we can now buy and sell NFTs from our NFT collection. We'll do one more quick thing right here, and we'll create this profile page so that someone can click and view the NFTs that they own within their profile page here. So let's go back to our code editor here. Under pages, we'll create a new folder. We'll call it profile. And then within that profile folder, we'll create a new file in brackets, and we're going to do address.tsx. And in that profile page, again, just importing a few things, some Chakra UI components. We're going to be able to get only the view. We're only going to display the owned NFTs, and we're going to display it as a grid again as well. So for our profile page here, we're going to set up a router using the use router. We'll get our NFT contract address, and then we'll display that as, and then we'll save that under NFT collection. We'll also get, we actually don't need the marketplace contract address for this one right now, but we also want to get the owned NFTs. So we'll use the used owned NFTs. We'll use NFT collection here, and then we will pass the address for the address section to check and display the owned NFTs of that address. And for that profile page, we'll create a container again with the max width of 1200 pixels, and we'll just create a heading saying owned NFTs, and then we'll say that they can browse and manage NFTs from their collection. And we will then display NFT grid. We'll be displaying only the owned NFTs. Is loading, we'll pass the loading state of the owned NFTs, and then the empty text is, we will say you don't have any NFTs from this collection yet if the wallet does not have any NFTs. And that does it for our profile page. So we come back to our marketplace here, we'll click on our profile. You see we have owned NFTs, and it displays the NFTs that we own within this collection here. If I switch this out to a wallet that doesn't own an NFT, I don't think this wallet does. We'll click on our profile page here, and you can see you don't own any NFTs from this collection. And there you have it. We built a very simple marketplace that allows you to buy and sell NFTs from your NFT collection. You also have a little profile page where you can view the NFTs that you own, or that profile or that wallet address owns from this NFT collection. Now from here, if you still want to follow along, we're going to now add the ability to list an NFT for an auction and be able to place bids on those NFTs as well. So if that's something you want to implement into your marketplace, stick around and let's get started. All right, and we're now going to add that audit feature to our marketplace. So let's take a look at our previous demo before. So this is if we are selling an NFT. When we click on an NFT, right now we only have direct listings available in our marketplace. So we can choose a start and end date and direct the listing price of what we want to list our NFT for. What we're going to set up here is the auction listing, and this will allow us to again set a start and end date, but we can set a starting bid and a buyout price for that auction. So we're going to head back to our code editor here. The first thing we're going to need to do is, if we take a look at our buy section here in our demo, we want to update our NFT cards here, because if a NFT is listed for an auction, we want to again show the price, but we want to show a minimum bid price of what the NFT is being bid at. So we're going to come over to our NFT component first, and right over here under where we got our direct listings, we're going to do the same thing, but this time for our auction listing. And we are going to use the use valid English auctions here, and again pass in our token, our contract of our NFT collection, and the token ID of the token that we're getting the information for. And just like how we checked if it was listed for a direct listing, we're going to check if it's listed for an auction listing. And then down here in this section, where we are loading and displaying if it is not listed or if it has a direct pricing list, we are now going to also check if there is an auction and add the auction pricing if there is one. So up here, we're also going to check if loading auction is complete. And then over here under this section, we are going to add if there is an auction, what we should do. So over here, it's just like how we checking the direct listing. If there is a direct listing, we're going to check if there is an auction listing. And if there is an auction listing, we are going to display, I'm going to just copy this here and we'll make the changes. We're going to display the price again. We're not going to show price though. This time we're just going to show minimum bid. And we're not going to be showing the direct listing. We're going to show the auction listing. And under auction listing, there is a minimum bid currency amount. And again, we're going to display the value. So it gives us a string. And then we're going to take the symbol. So change this to auction listing here and minimum bid currency value dot symbol. So just like how we did the direct listing above, this time we're showing if there is an auction listing for it, we're going to show the minimum bid and what the minimum bid currency value and symbol is right here. And that is going to be our little update for our NFT card, right? And then now the next thing we need to update is if we take a look here and we go to our buy page and we click on an NFT detail, we want to add this bidding section right down here. Currently, we only have this buy for asking price, but we're going to add a bidding section where someone can place a bid, but they can only place a bid if there is an auction going on. So we're going to come to our token page. So again, under our token folder and in our contract address, we have that token ID file. And we're going to add a few things here. So first, we're going to create a state with the bid value, and we're going to be able to get the bid value of what the user puts into the input as far as what they want their bid to be. And then again, we are going to get our auction listing here if there is one, and we're going to use the use valid English auctions just like we did in the NFT card component. And if we come back up a little bit to our buy listing, right now this allows someone to buy a listing when it's listed for a direct listing. But if someone places an auction, they do also have the option to buy out a listing, which we can allow them to do by using the same function here. So right over here, we're going to check if there is an auction listing, and then we'll put else here. So if there is an auction listing, we're going to create the transaction result here, and this is going to await, and we're going to call this on our marketplace here. And on our marketplace, we are going to again call this on our English auctions, and we are going to do the buyout auction option here. Now our buyout option is going to just take the auction listing ID that we are going to be buying out. And this way we also now have the option to purchase the auction at its buyout price, right? And next we're going to create a function that is going to allow us to create a bid offer. So if someone does want to make an offer or a bid, this is the function that we are going to call. And if there is no bid value, then we're not going to create the offer, and we'll just return out of the function. But if there is an auction listing and someone wants to place a bid, we will again on our marketplace under the English auctions, we will call the make a bid function here, and we will again make a bid on the auction ID that is listed and the bid value. So whatever they have in the bid value, they can place right over here. And then we'll also just say we'll add 0, so if someone bids 0, they won't be able to place that bid either. And if there is no listing or we aren't able to put transaction through, we'll just throw an error of no listing found, and we will return our transaction result below here. And now we'll make the changes to display and give the option to purchase our NFT at the buyout price or to place a bid. So currently right now, let's scroll down to the section where we are displaying the price. And right now we are loading the direct listing price, just like we did with the NFT card for this detail page. We are also going to now check the auction listing here. And if there is an auction listing, what we're going to display is the buyout price, because this is the buyout portion of our listing here. So I'm going to create a text here that is on our auction listing, going to get the buyout currency value. And we're going to display the value and then get the symbol for it. So this is, if we come back here, this top section here. So if there is an auction, remember a user can still buy out at the price that the seller put it for. So just like a direct listing, they can view that buyout price and then select to purchase it at that price. And then below that, we have still our Web3 button. So again, this Web3 button that we have for direct listing with our buy listing function here will still check to see if it is a direct listing or an auction listing. And if it's a direct listing, it'll just purchase the direct listing. And if it is an auction listing, like we added up in our function here, it will, It will purchase, if it is an auction listing, it'll purchase it with the buyout auction function. And right below this price section right here, we are going to display if there is an auction and what that auction bidding starts at. So again, we're going to create a skeleton here that's going to check, which is going to show until we have loaded our auction data. And if there is an auction, we are going to display here that the bid starts from, and we will display a text here that shows the minimum bid currency value and the symbol. And then we can come on over back to our marketplace here and let's take a look at it. So I know I have one NFT here listed for an auction. You can see the minimum bid here starts at 0.01 Matic. We click on it, it'll bring us to the detail page, and we are now showing the buyout price, which is 0.05 Matic, and the bid price of starting at 0.01 Matic. So now we'll add the inputs down here to allow a user to place a bid if they choose to do so. So in the section right down here where we're checking if our marketplace has loaded, we're also going to check that our auction listing has finished loading as well, and we'll have our Web3 button right over here. And then for our Web3 button, we're also going to check and make this button enabled if there is a buyout price from an auction. And we'll just put these into parentheses here because these are going to be grouped together. All right, there. So this button should be clickable if there is a buyout price, which we'll have for our auction listing. Then we'll just add some text here that says or, and then below that we're going to give, and then below that we'll give the option to set a bid. So I have a flex here with an input at the top that is going to be of type number, and this default value is going to be the minimum bid currency value. And if someone inputs another value in there, it'll just, using our state, change that to whatever the bid value is set at. And then we'll create another Web3 button here, which is going to call our create bid offer function that we created, and it will allow them to place the bid. Now this button will be disabled if there is no auction listing for that NFT. So we'll save that. If we come back over to our NFT that we had for sale here, you can see here we can buy it for the asking price. So if I click on that, we'll get a transaction that appears. And you can see here it's buying for the 0.05 buyout price. Or I can place a bid right over here. So right now the minimum bid is 0.01. Let's say we place a bid for 0.015 and we place that bid. You can see here we can place the bid for 0.015 Matic. I'll just reject those transactions. We'll come back, and now what we need to do, so we can place bid offers on our NFTs that are listed for bid. We don't have the option right now to place an NFT or sell an NFT for an auction. So if I go to sell right now and I look at my NFTs I can sell, if I click on one, I can only do a direct listing here, but we also want the ability to do an auction listing, and that's what we're going to do next. So if we come back here, come on up and we'll go to sell info. We'll scroll up to the top here. Right now we have our form data for our direct listing. We're going to do the same thing, but create a form data for our auction listing because our auction listing does need a floor price, which is the minimum bid amount, and a buyout price, which is of course the buyout amount. We'll come down here and we can see here we had used the use create direct listing. We're going to now use the use create auction listing here. We'll import that. And just like how we did create direct listing, we're going to come down here. We have our form data right over here for our direct listing. We're going to do the same thing, but for our auction listing here. So again, this one is going to be for our auction form data, and we are going to create our register auction. And just like how we did direct listing, this time we're just setting floor prices and buyout prices as well, along with the date. And then we have our function that is going to check approval and then create our auction listing with the data from our inputs. Now our form right here just shows the direct listing. I'm going to delete this and we're going to use the tabs components from Chakra UI to create some toggleable tabs so we can choose either direct listing or auction. So from Chakra UI, we're going to use the tabs component here, and to set what our tabs are going to be, we're going to create a tab list, and one tab is going to be our direct listing tab, the other tab is going to be our auction tab, and then for what is going to be within those tabs, we're going to create a tabs panels, and within tabs panels we're going to create our two tab panel, and in each tab panel is going to be our information that we show for direct and our auction listing. So the first panel is going to be direct, so we're going to create a stack here again, and within that stack we're going to show the listing start date, which is going to show our input for our start date, and set that to our register direct start date. The same thing for our end date. And then we are also going to put in an input below that for the price we want to set our direct listing at. And then we will again create our Web3 button that will submit that submission for our direct listing. And once that transaction is successful, it will again use our router and push our users to the NFT detail page of that NFT that was just listed. And then for the auction tab here under the tab panels, we're going to be doing something very similar. So we're going to create a stack again, and within that stack we'll first put a box here with the input to put the start date, and we're going to register it to the register auction start date. Same thing for the end date here. Below that we're going to create two inputs. The first one is going to be starting bid. So this is going to be where the user puts in what they want the bids to start at and registers that under the register auction floor price. And then they can also set the buyout price, and that will be put in as the buyout price. And then finally, again, a Web3 button that will that will run our handle submit auction and take in our submission data and put that through and list this NFT for sale as an auction. And then once that is successful, again, we will bring us to the NFT's detail page of the NFT that was just listed. Now I'm going to also make sure that I import these. And if we save that and come back to our page here, and come back to our marketplace here, if I select one of our NFTs to sell, you can now see we have a direct listing option and an auction option. So depending on how we want to list our NFT, we can select that right over here. So if I wanted to do a direct listing, again, we can select the date. We can select when we want it to end. We can put the price that we want to sell it for. So I'll put 0.02 this time. We'll click list for direct. We'll just pay our gases here, and it brings us to our detail page, and we can see here it is listed for 0.02 Matic, and we can purchase that. If we come back to sell here, let's select another NFT. We can choose an auction date. We'll list this for auction for a day. We'll make the starting bid 0.01 and maybe the buyout at 0.05, or we'll do 0.75, and we can create our auction listing. We'll confirm our transaction here. And you can see here it has brought us to our detail page where the buyout price is 0.05 Matic and our bids start at 0.01 Matic. So you can go and place your bids, or you can buy at that asking price. And there you have it. We now have added the ability to list NFTs for auction and to place bids or buyout bids that are listed for auction on our marketplace. So we covered a lot in this video on how to get started building your very own marketplace using the Marketplace V3 smart contract. And if you folks did enjoy this video, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on tutorial videos just like this. And if you want more information about Marketplace V3, we're going to add a bunch of links down in the description below, as well as a template that you can go ahead and clone for yourself and just switch out the chain ID or network that you'll be using and the contract address that you need for your marketplace. So if you're looking for something that is pre-built already, you can check it down in the description below as well. And if you aren't already part of our Discord channel, join the amazing community of builders just like yourself. If you have any questions around Marketplace V3 or how to build your own marketplace, drop us a question in the Discord and we'll be happy to help you out. But again, I hope you folks enjoyed this video, and until next time, see ya.